More disturbing news regarding the coronavirus pandemic and the United States. I'll link this article in the description box. Uncommon Dreams, Eon Higgins. Picking up at dangerous pace, 1.9 million new COVID cases in U.S. in July. Quote, a grim sigh, America lost its grip. They never had a grip on this virus. Let's be real. The just totally abysmal, inadequate response from the federal level, from the Trump administration from the start, that continues today, as well as the patchwork of responses from on these different state levels. It's really just shows how much of a failed state the United States is. Coronavirus cases in the U.S. rose by 1.9 million and deaths from the disease by over 25,000 in the month of July, another sign of President Donald Trump's failure to slow the pandemic. The numbers from July represent 42% of the country's total cases since the outbreak began and a 69% increase in infections altogether. I mean, look at that. New coronavirus cases are picking up at a dangerous pace in much of the Midwest and areas that had seen apparent progress. The U.S. has recorded more than 1.9 million new infections in July, more than double the number documented in any other month. Chris Jensen, I believe from the New York Times, looks like. It is extraordinarily widespread, White House Coronavirus Task Force Coordinator Dr. Deborah Birx told CNN News Sunday. According to the New York Times, gone is any sense that the country may soon get a hold of the pandemic. The 7-day average for daily new infections has hovered around 65,000 for the past 2 weeks, more than doubling the peak average from the spring when the country experienced what was essentially its first wave. Again, it's always been on the first wave here in the United States. It flattened a little bit, and then just completely, like it's a tsunami type of trajectory that the United States is on now with these new cases. It's truly troubling and disturbing, and obviously could have been prevented if it was handled from a public health perspective. If the doctors, the epidemiologists, the public health experts would have been listened to, and as well as it needs to be pointed out that if the federal government had actually made it so people could have stayed home, took care of themselves and their families during a pandemic, things like UBI, Medicare for All, rent, mortgage freezes, etc., obviously would have made a huge, massive difference in this as well. People wouldn't have to be going out risking their lives in order to get by during a pandemic. That is ridiculous. Nobody should have to do that. Didn't have to be like this, tweeted Illinois Governor Juliana Stratton. We need a national mask mandate now. Obviously, that's part of it, but I said, you also need to help people because we are in a huge, massive economic crisis, the likes that we haven't seen since the Great Depression, and frankly, it's probably, if it's not already worse than that, it'll soon be. I mean, potentially 40% of U.S. renters may face eviction, and people's expanded unemployment benefits gone. The Senate and the House, they took a break. They don't give a shit about the working people. While cases increase around the country, GOP lawmakers from the White House on down continue to downplay the severity of the crisis and question the levels of infection. Of course, because that's all they can do is, well, these numbers, they're not actually real. People aren't actually dying and getting sick and getting infected with this. It's just, it's fake news, basically. As Common Dreams reported, Trump on Saturday repeated the baseless claim that increased testing was to blame for the rise in cases. Oh my. This continued kindergarten-level logic is why we lead the world in coronavirus cases and deaths, Representative Mark Pocan, Democratic Wisconsin, tweeted in response. Reported U.S. coronavirus deaths, March 1st, 2, April 1st, 4,780. May 1st, 64,943. June 1st, 105,165. July 1st, 128,062. August 1st, today, right? Yeah. 154,360 deaths. And I mean, it's just another really huge, clear example of how the United States is a failed state. We can't provide the minimum amount of service and support to people during a pandemic. We're not gonna get it at any other time, obviously. I mean, it's just disgusting. On Saturday, Rep. Raul Grijalva, I think, announced he had contracted the coronavirus and suggested that the carelessness of his GOP colleagues could be to blame for his coming down with the disease. Quote, while I cannot blame anyone directly for this week has shown that there are some members of Congress who failed to take this crisis seriously, said Grijalva. Numerous Republican members routinely strut around the Capitol without a mask to selfishly make a political statement at the expense of their colleagues, staff, and their families. Like one Louis Gohmert, right? New numbers show the U.S. saw a devastating surge in coronavirus infections during July, with 1.9 million plus new cases reported, by far most tallying a single month. And grim sign, America, it never had a grip on this virus. That's just frankly wishful thinking. With the increase in total cases will come a corresponding increase in deaths. In August, Boston University epidemiologist Ellie Murray told the Washington Post, overall, what this tells us now that deaths have started to increase, we can expect them to increase for several more weeks. Stay safe out there, people. This coronavirus pandemic, we're still very much in the midst of it here in the United States. Social distance, wear a mask, and stay safe. Try to protect yourself and your family if you can, because it's clear the government, especially on a federal level, has no indication or inclination to do that, and it's sick, disgusting, and frightening. Peace. Much